it is possible for you to sincerely decide to become a new kind of human being without knowing how you're going to do it. Let me give you a remarkable, tremendous addition to that opening statement. Sincerity is independent of methods and means. Sincerity can stand all by itself, and you must let it. Now, what do we mean by sincerity? It means a state that you finally arrived at because you realize that insincerity, hypocrisy, self-deception were giving you nothing but an agonizing mind, a burning, churning mind. Realizing that insincerity, no matter how well you covered up from yourself and from other people, realizing that insincerity just didn't do anything for you truly, you began to question its authenticity, and finally you saw through it. Not being motivated by insincerity anymore, not being aroused and pushed and turned in this or that direction by insincerity anymore, you finally understood that it's the absence of everything you were told was right, the absence of everything you were told was right was what's truly right. Sincerity arrives and grows as you're willing to risk whatever is ahead of you instead of protecting yourself and weighting yourself down so heavily with your own lies and deceits that you can't travel at all. Insincerity is an armor that doesn't protect you, but rather stifles you and keeps you weighted so that you can't walk the road. And you got tired of staggering. Tired, listen, you're tired, aren't you, of faking the whole business, faking the smile, faking the pretense that you know the direction you're going in and that's the right one. Well, you finally said to yourself, I don't want to do that anymore because it's too much to bear, and I'm not going to cover up the burden, the steel armor that I've put around me because I sense that it doesn't protect. Instead, it does the exact opposite. It imprisons me. The spiritual life, the true spiritual inspiration enters at this point. It enters because you've allowed it to. Because you've said, never again am I going to trust my deceitful mind when it tells me what to do and how to go. I'm not going to do that. I don't care what it costs me because I have nothing of value and I know it at last. I have nothing of value to save, to go to think about, to cling to. I don't have any friends I can go to and ask for advice. I've asked advice of everyone and they're worse than I am, maybe. Bad off anyway. The shedding of your insincerity is what allows the inspirational truth from heaven itself to come in and take away the terror that you were willing to go through by willingly, sincerely abandoning your ways and means for getting to heaven because you know you never got there. You know now as I'm talking to you that you're 1,000,000 miles away from heaven. That is, from being in charge of yourself. Your insincerity is now in charge of you, and that's why you're so sad. That's why gloom overtook you at home today. And the worst part of it all is that you didn't know when you were gloomy that you were. You just felt it, and you called that gloom and defeat, you called it a method. Yes, you did. You called that plunge into depression, which has rage in it, of course. You called that a method, a procedure, a plan to live by, a blueprint. Can you imagine how confused, to put it mildly, human beings are when they call something that is bad something that is good for them? You did. I'm telling you, you did. And I'm telling you that you fell into depression today uselessly, needlessly. It didn't have to happen. You allowed it to happen because depression is your old chum. Bum chum. Snap it! All the hundreds and thousands of words you're going to hear tonight, remember those two. Snap it! Right in the middle of it! Because that's insincerity, to get depressed, to feel gloomy. And by the way, did you notice when you were despondent today, did you notice that you didn't want to do something about it because it felt so, quote mark, good? It felt so good. Yes, it felt good because it lied to you and you fell for it. And that was your method. That was your method for making yourself the center of your own world. Oh, that moment, those hours of dark despondency and terror too, that became your life. That became your identity. That became your assurance that you had something. That insincerity became what you called sincerity. That is, you said, I'm loyal, I'm sincere to myself, to my own nature, and not for a split second were you able to understand this fact, which is that misery is misery. Here, let me tell you your handicap, your difficulty. You've never ever felt good in your life. Never. You felt elated. You felt excited. You felt revengeful. You felt exhilarated. You felt distracted. But not once have you ever known what it means to feel good. And that is the tragedy of your life. Want to know what it means to feel good? How would you like to have the experience of what it knows to feel authentically at peace with yourself, at peace with the world? Same thing. How would you like that? No. Don't you be so fast as to tell me that's what you want. If you wanted it, you could have had it. Because the very first talk you ever came to at New Life Foundation, you were told how to do it, and how you haven't done it. Not only that, but you skipped a lot of classes. You loved your insincerity, calling it sincerity, calling it loyalty. How would you like being loyal to being locked up in a room full of demons? You call that loyalty? That's madness. That's the wrong thing to do, but you don't see it. To feel good, to feel the authentic pleasure, and there is such a thing. To feel good means you feel your own sincerity, which is truth sincerity, which is one sincerity. Sincerity means this. Oh, what does it take to knock you over like the pins in a bowling alley? What does it take to knock you over. How many of those bowling balls? Just 2 or 3 in a row? You get shattered, you crack up and scatter yourself all over inside yourself. What does it take? Not very much. Not very much for you to have something happen to you that you like, because as an old friend, you like the temptation of falling into depression. And so you did. It started to overwhelm you like a wave standing on the seashore. It came toward you, and you could kind of sense it. But there's this strange, neurotic, sick satisfaction in being overwhelmed by the wave that knocked you out. Choking, gasping, getting up. I have explained to you why the billions of human beings in this world, the billions of them, got explosively angry today. Did something to hurt themselves and someone else. I have explained the very heart of the sick nature, why it happened. Because a human being is tempted to fall into the depths of himself. He invites it, and he likes what he feels, because now there's the vibration, and now he has an excuse for reacting and shaking his fist at the whole world. Well, let me tell you, it's a lifeless life to spend your time shivering on the seashore, just waiting for the next wave to come along so you can live from its thrills. And I'll tell you, this is what the tedious life is. This is what the boring life is. This is what the heartache life is, for you to stand on the shore and just like what's coming toward you, because it's simply become a habit to you. Now, I'm going to give you a way out right now. You've been told the problem. I'm going to tell you the way out. Better write it down. Maybe up here. I am not my feelings. There's liberty right there. I am not my feelings. You think you are. You want it to be. You insist that it be so, that you're your feeling, so you can say, I feel persecuted. I better add a little thought to that. There is no more dangerous human being on this earth than someone who feels persecuted. He feels that others are out to get them. He's been denied his rights. Because now he can excuse himself from all sorts of animalistic and devilish behavior in obtaining his rights. And it's all covered up. You see it in the news. Nobody, unless you're a spiritual genius, understands the news. It's there right in front of everybody and nobody sees it. I want you to see it from now on. I'm giving you clues for doing just that. Nobody, you believe what you see. Instead, you should see and understand what's going on behind what you see. You think there's a variety of people in the world, don't you? Good, bad, sincere and insincere. They are all devils. They are all depraved. I don't care what they look like physically. They look good or they're famous. And oh, how well they have rehearsed their public act. You know that, don't you, in yourself. Now transfer it outside. You see what a faker you are when you go places. You can say, well, maybe that person does the same thing I do. That's the only way, by the way, you're ever going to get it. It means you have to go inside yourself first before you can go inside someone else and see it and understand what's going on. Well, let's see. I am not any kind of feeling that I have. Ooh, wow. I never ever heard that before. Does that include every feeling? Absolutely every one of them, including the feelings you get when you think you've won something. See, you want to get rid of the painful feelings and hang on to the pleasurable feelings, and they're both the same thing. They're both painful. Why are pleasurable feelings painful? Because they keep you away from God, that's why. Because they keep you inside the hard armor of your own malicious thoughts and your own gullibility, your own folly. They keep you trapped inside yourself. And when you're trapped inside yourself, all you can yearn for is thrills and exhilarations, either what you call painful or what you call pleasurable. How sad that at your age and your life, you have never known what it means to feel good. Want to learn? Give up your inner life as you now live it. I don't have to talk for hours about that. I told you that if you want to feel the goodness which exists in the absence of your usual feelings, if you want that goodness, give yourself up. You do not need yourself. That's the last thing you need. You know that somewhere inside, you know that. When I said that, a little tiny spark vibrated to what I said. It's not enough. It's not enough to just get a flash. Oh, you have to dedicate yourself to what you're hearing in this room, what you're getting from truth from any place. You've got to dedicate yourself to allowing the spark to grow more and more, to grow flamier and flamier, so that you can see it for longer periods at a time, until you know absolutely that if any evil thought, any other person, any outside or inside lure, demon comes along and tries to make you feel depressed, you snap it. You shake your head, no, I'm not going. I'm not going with you anymore. I've been with you all these years, and look what it's got me, shaky hands, palpitating heart, sickness at night, and when I'm alone, I can't stand to be alone. You know, it's not really, please listen to me. It's really not. It is really not mere religious talk when you were told that if you have God inside you, the Spirit of truth inside you, you don't need any human being on earth. Socially, it's nice. We're not talking about that. We're social all the time. We're friends. But you don't need to get anything from someone because you have everything there is. Then when you go out, you'll give help to the world instead of, oh, I better talk about that a little bit too. What do you give people? You give them what you are? What are you? What? Oh, come on. A warrior? How can you do that? How can you do that to your children? How can you do that to your parents? How can you be so conscienceless to pass on your confusion to everyone you meet? And that hard look, and that dull look in your face. No wonder you don't know what goodness is. You've preferred to be bad. You preferred to be a carrier and a spreader of ill tidings, of gloom. In short, you've given everyone exactly what you are. And you pay the price for it. Every human being is connected with the truth. Every human being is connected with the truth. Some are connected wrong, or some are connected right. Oh, there's no way. There is no way any human being can ever cut himself off from truth entirely. I don't care the so-called worst atheist, the worst devil, the worst, most malicious human being. I am saying that a recognition of truth exists in him, which is his connection with truth, whether he wants it or not. You can know truth without wanting it. Well, everybody on earth dimly recognizes the truth without wanting it, except for the few who have seen through themselves. If you're on a boat going across the sea, and we'll let that stand for a spiritual journey, and you're voyaging along the sea, you're in the boat. That means that you've begun to value sincerity. That is, you don't want to be an unconscious victim of yourself anymore, so you value sincerity, and so you get in the boat, so to speak, the boat of truth, and you start to travel. I've got some news for you. That boat of truth is not at all packed with passengers. Big enough for all the people who want to get into it, but very few want to get in it. 10, 12 people inside it. You know where the rest are? You listen to this figure of speech, and when you encounter the world tomorrow, remember it. The billions are swimming in the ocean, the shark-infested sea, outside the boat, cursing those who are in it and cursing the boat itself. They don't want it. Untruthful, let's see how many ways we can say it. Untruthful people don't want the truth. Hostile minds don't want to get into the boat, because then they'd have to lose their hostility, and they don't want to lose their hatred and hostility, because then they'd lose their identity as sharks. And that's what they are. And listen to this for an astounding revelation. People swimming outside, circling the boat, falling behind, then catching up a little bit and shaking their fists or their fins at the people in the boat. Attacking truth, in other words. If you're not on the side of the truth, you're against truth. And that's what they're doing. Listen to this. If you could really get this, I'll give it to you in degrees so it doesn't knock you off your chair. Those sharks swimming viciously around the boat, hoping the people in the boat will fall off and they can attack them. Those sharks in the ocean hope that the boat will sink. Now, you don't know what it means yet. One day you will. When you're saved, when you're born again, you will know what it means to be utterly depraved, which means a person has a recognition of truth but has rejected it once and for all, finally, for eternity. Those sharks circling with the fins above water, circling the boat of truth with its very few passengers, they actually hope that the boat will sink. Now, get that, first of all, and then let me give you the avalanche thought. They want the boat to sink, the very boat that could save them. The boat could save them, but they don't want to be saved, so they want the boat to sink. Oh, the boat can't sink. This is why people go into rage. I want to explain to you what insanity is, what frustration is, what dope and alcohol this one is. It's the attempt of human sharks to believe that they are all that exists in the ocean of life. And the very presence of the boat of truth sailing across the sea toward its marvelous destination and harbor, the very existence of the boat of truth is an insult to them, is an affront to them. It makes them rageful and hateful. They don't want anything to do with it. Why? Because they want to believe, and see if you can understand this by what you see tomorrow. They want to believe that the shark life is the only life there is, because that's what's exciting. You see, sharks not only hate the truth, but they hate other sharks. Thieves fall out. One country trying to destroy another country. 10 or 12 people within a group or within a family hating each other. All sharks hate other sharks. All sharks despise other sharks. Why? Well, because that other shark had the nerve to want his way and not give me my way. Therefore, he has a right to be destroyed. And if I do it, then I'm doing good to destroy that bad shark because I'm a good shark. The horrible situation, as I explained earlier, is right in front of you. You walk outside your house, and what you see is maybe the grass is green in the neighborhood, and it's nice. And birds are chirping, and it's pretty outside, and it's a sunny day. And the neighbor's out cutting his lawn, and maybe he waves over at you. What you don't know is that nature itself is fine. But when you meet human beings, that is astoundingly sick, devilish, and evil. That friendly man who waved at you, he is a part of the madness of life. Now, did you hear what I just said? That man who waved at you, the people you work with, and the man at lunch, he said, "Hey, I got extra apple. You want extra apple?" And you were so pleased to have his attention of him giving you an apple and thinking that you're like, that you don't know what that man is like inside. You don't know what anyone is like inside because you don't know what you're like inside. And you have to know what you're like inside before you know what they're like inside, and then you'll never be the victim of human sharks again, but you are now. You believe in the goodness of people when you should know the depravity of people. You see, and even now as I'm talking, I know how your minds are operating. I know the resistance you have to the use of words like depravity or gruesome human beings or zombies. I know you shy away from that and you would rather hear about what you call good things. My dear sir and ma'am, don't you know that it's a good thing for you to know that everybody is a criminal, a psychic criminal? There is no salvation. There is no salvation for you, none, until you know what I've just told you from your own perception, that everyone is a criminal. This doesn't mean you blame them. That's what you do now. If you blame them and hate them, you can't understand them. You can understand when there's no hatred, there's no blame, when you've come through the whole spiritual process. And your neighbor waves at you, and the man at work gives you an apple. You now know that he is an unconscious human being. He's so unconscious he doesn't even know that there's a monster inside of him. And when he gets through waving you next door, he's going to go in and he's going to fight with his wife, the man who gave you the apple down at work. He's a liar and a hypocrite, and he hurts his family too. And you don't know that. And why you don't know it, and I'll say it one more time, why you don't know it, because you don't know the same thing that exists in you. Well, I told you. You suffer because you're bad. If you were good, you couldn't suffer. If you were good, you couldn't suffer. You want to stop suffering? Be good. Now that we've gone through the rough part, which is good, that is a revelation of the awfulness, the corruption of everybody. They all live by lies. Every single one of them. They lie. They lie in church. They write books of self-improvement filled with lies. And they're so happy flitting around the party with their cocktail glass. Everything about that woman is a lie. The dress she bought is a lie. The way she holds her cocktail glass is a lie. Her hairdo is a lie. Her smile is a lie. Her conversation is a lie. If you want to have a right connection with truth, you can. But you have to do something. Now, I'm gonna ask you whether you're willing to do what you have to do. And don't be so eager to say you are, because if you really were sincere about getting rid of your insincerity, you wouldn't come into this room night after night the same kind of a person that you've always been. See? You do not change your nature. You do not change your nature. You just revolve all day within the same nature, with the same heavy, foolish, useless armor around you, protective armor. Your sarcastic remarks. You do not change your nature. You're still swimming with the sharks. That means you don't know that you're outside the boat swimming in the sharky sea. You don't know you're swimming there. You don't know you are a shark. I'm telling you. Now look, it's a fact. You don't know it. None of you here knows that you're a shark. I'm speaking psychologically, spiritually now. If you fall into depression can only exist in the sharky ocean, in the sea. If you want to be depressed, you can't stay in that sea. What are your wrong connections with the other sharks in the ocean? I'm going to give you an opportunity while I'm talking for you to answer that question yourself. There'll be 99% mental, some physical. But if you corrected the mental, you'd correct even that 1% physical. You wonder, how do I get out of this mess? Don't you know your body went there because your mind told you to go there? What'd you do? Get involved with that group. What'd you do? Get married? What'd you do? Associate with that so-called good organization just to give yourself a phony front of being good yourself? Where did your shark-like mind take you in the shark-infested sea? Well, let me tell you something. Wherever you go in the sea, you're going to meet other sharks. That's all. There's nothing else. There's nothing else. There's nothing else in this world. Oh, they're vicious. No, they're out to get you just as you're out to get them. That means getting an advantage over someone, winning the argument, getting an advantage. What? What do you want from the other sharks? Those few people in the boat don't want anything from them. They only want one thing from them, which they have nothing to do with them. See? Now there's all kind of associations with sharks that you don't understand. Far from understanding. For example, you want the shark over there swimming over the other side of the boat, you want that one to be pleasant to you. Now you've got to understand something. You don't understand anything. You've got to understand something. A shark can never be pleasant. A neurotic human being can never be nice. A lost soul can never be understanding and gentle and compassionate. He can only behave what his nature is like. But sharks learn to smile. They give you apples and they wave to you. They can do all sorts of things. And you're so desperate for the slightest sign of kindness from someone that anybody can fool your dumbness. Anybody can lure you in. How many times have you been bitten by those jaws? How many times you can't even count them. If you had a computer, you wouldn't be able to add them up, right? Would you agree, don't get emotional about it, but just intellectually agree that you're pretty stupid? Huh? Just Is a cold fact pretty stupid? Well, isn't it stupid to be attacked and bitten all the time and allow that viciousness to continue day and night in your life? Give your age to yourself. What's your age? You may not like it, but give it anyway. Give your age, and wouldn't you agree with me that you've swummed into the sharky waters long enough? Oh, I see. I see. Oh, I see what you're afraid of. You were swimming around one day, could have been 20 years ago, could have been 7 years ago. You were swimming around the ocean one day looking for a shark to be your friend. Could be money, security, looking for a friend. And one day, kind of unexpected, you saw something that wasn't a shark. It was above the level of the ocean. These sharks, except for the fins, of course, are always below the surface, right? Swimming around. What's that? It was made out of something else than shark skin. It was a boat, of course. What's that? How many can remember when you first saw the boat? Have any experience? You know what I'm talking about. Oh, but wait a minute. It doesn't look like a shark, who are nice, therefore it must be bad. Therefore I better be afraid of it, and I better stay away. Oh, I tell you, nothing is more marvelous than when God puts the boat out there for you to look. Nothing is more marvelous than that you can't forget it. How many of you can answer this question? How long did it take from your first glimpse of the boat until you finally found yourself trying to climb up on the side and get inside? Don't say you're inside yet. I'm saying climbing to get inside. Understand? Years? All right. I know what's happening now as I'm talking to you. You're understanding the figure of speech. You're getting it. Because I'm talking to something that is not just going into your surface mind. It's going into something deeper than that. I've helped you bypass your own mental level and go into something deeper. Ooh. But if that thing, this wood thing up there that moves along and seems to be going somewhere, it's not like sharks. And all my interests are here in sharky waters. If I follow that, it might lead me away from my happiness. Your happiness being to fight, quarrel with the other sharks over the little morsel that you found in the ocean. If I follow that, the others obviously aren't interested in it because they saw it too and they just turned away. Some of them even shook their fins at it. Figure that one out. Oh, you know that I'm talking about a crisis in your life. You know that I'm talking about an authentic, real, true, tremendous, out of this world spiritual experience. The vision of that corner of the boat, just through the mists a little bit. You saw it and you knew it was different from what you've had before, right? Oh, but you were afraid. Oh, how you're afraid tonight. Now let me explain that to you. Oh, you're so worried that you can't live without the status quo of your present life. You can't imagine yourself not being you in your surroundings with your familiar faces and experiences and feelings. You can't imagine yourself being without them. You don't have to. Don't imagine. Just drop them. But you're afraid. You must go all the way through what I'm talking about. If you're ever going to get inside the boat, so that the boat itself can take you increasingly farther away from those threshing waters of millions of lost and vicious human beings, and that is all they are. Do you, come on. Do you really want to be part of that anymore? Let me tell you, so you understand what I'm getting at. You could be right in this physical world, and you could go to that same office you go to every day, or your same circles that you move in, raising the children or taking care of the home or whatever you do. You can have that same physical, what is called social life, and yet be not a part of the shark-infested waters. You can be in the boat because your spirit is in the boat while your body is still in this world. I want to assure you of that because you're so attached to the physical self, so attached to recurring memories, and you're attached to them because that's all you've had. But your glimpse of the corner of the boat, just the corner of it, through the fog. The fog in the Shark Sea broke apart just enough for you to see something that was up and down, that was up, instead of down where you'd lived all your life. And you were attracted to it, weren't you? Now let me tell you what happens. All the sharks inside of you and all the millions of them inside the ocean, and they see you making one move, one swim toward that boat, they're going to attack you. And they're going to lie to you. And they're going to tell you that you're going to be lonely if you go that. They are lonely. They tell you that you're going to lose what you have. They've lost everything. Sharks have lost everything, and the only chance you have to get something is to start swimming toward the boat. Well, I'm so scared. What's that got to do with it? Look, see, the trouble is you don't know God, so what I tell you doesn't have any meaning to you. But I have to start somewhere with you. God is stronger than your anxiety over leaving yourself and the other sharks and swimming toward the boat. God is stronger than your insincerity. God can give you the persistence, the direction to start swimming toward the boat persistently. And if you just start, you will find that because you're a beginner in trying to approach the boat in order to get in, you'll find that the fog will come down, depression, self-doubt, the whole mess. They will come down. But if you just keep swimming and remember that you're not your feelings, you're not your depressions, if you just keep swimming, the miracle of inner transformation will happen to you, which happens to one person in who knows what, 20 million maybe. You want to be one person in 20 million? You can be. 50 million maybe. You'll find that you're changing inwardly and the boat becomes clearer and clearer. And when you reach it, you'll want nothing more than to get inside. And when you get inside, you are an authentically saved human being. You've been saved for eternity. Good night. I have a startling and delightful announcement for you. An announcement that will change, uplift, and inspire everything from moment to moment in your day. That announcement is, sin is unnecessary. Badness is pointless. To be tricky and devious has no needful place in your life. Badness is as useless and pointless as wheels on a boat. Anxiety, which is badness. Hostility, which is badness. Worry, which is badness. Simply does not form a requirement in your personal life. You can live without being bad without inflicting hostility on yourself. Evil has no permanence. Sickness has nothing to back it up. It's a vapor that projects itself into your mind, and because you are immature and confused, that vapor seems to form a bad, evil face, countenance. And so you think that the vapor has eyes, nose, mouth, the rest of the face, and you call it evil because you don't understand it. You yourself, out of your ignorance and your false belief in your false existence, you yourself have created a force, a misused energy. You have taken your natural right elements within yourself and have distorted them for one reason, simply because you don't know any better. Now, you can know better. Anyone who will, look, all you have to do is listen and learn. Listen to the lesson of your own self-oppression and learn that it is not necessary for you to live that way, not 1 second any longer. Now, you now have a responsibility, a pleasant, not a heavy, burdensome one, a pleasant one, a nice one, a good one, a happy one. You have a happy responsibility for finding out what I've just said. And you can start by seeing one at a time. You can't handle too much at a time, but you can start with one objectionable, pointless agitation way of thinking. You can take one at a time and destroy them. And the more you see, the faster will go the destruction. That is, the destruction of your belief in the necessity of you being evil and therefore worried and sick and fearful of punishment. The very fact, by the way, that there is evil there means that you will be punished, but when you see through the falsity of having to be evil, when you see through that, the punishment ceases. Now, isn't there a wish in you to not be afraid of anything anymore? Of course there is. But you haven't known what to do about it because you have twisted even the faintest instructions that have come to you. You've twisted that because you want to hang on to whatever you have for fear there's nothing beyond it. Now, there's only one way you're ever going to find what's beyond your belief in evil and sin, which is to go beyond it. Look where we've come to. We've come to the niceness of self-abandonment, of self-desertion. Walk away. Now, I want to connect this with a little exercise that you can do today. Walking away from yourself means essentially that you don't believe that you have to keep yourself together. It means that you're beginning to understand that you don't have to fight back, that you don't have to protect yourself, Because there's nothing in there that needs protection. You just believe in that evil and you don't have to. How about you spending the rest of this day with a special concentrated attention on noticing what your mind does in response to an exterior event. Maybe something unexpected. Maybe something you didn't want to happen. But you're to concentrate on seeing how you insist that a negative response is necessary, that you have to do it. See, you've lied to yourself so long, you've come to believe the lie, and nothing can get through to destroy it. There is never a necessity for you to harm yourself with any kind of negative response to any challenge whatsoever. You're wandering around the slums of your own mind. Never once, unfortunately, questioning your need to be there. You do. I know how you're going to resist this. You really think that wandering around those slums and those criminal areas of your inner system, you really believe that you should be there. Because you fear that if you leave the criminal region of town, the inward town, you fear that if you leave it, well, you've got a long list of what you call bad things will happen to you. For one thing, you will be lonely, and you will have no purpose in life. The purpose in life of all lost souls is to, quote mark, enjoy the hell of their non-existence. That's their only purpose. And they want to drag you back if you ever try to walk out from the slums. The fear of losing yourself, which is non-existence, so you're afraid of losing nothing, must become a minute-by-minute search and investigation by you. You must look into it at all times. And then, you're going to have to, I'm going to use a right word for this. I don't use it very often, but I'm going to use it and then tell you how to use it. You're going to have to trust something other than your habitual negative reactions to exterior events. This means that you don't know who to trust yet. Or what I've told you, you don't know God. You can't trust God. There's no way you could do that. But what you can do is trust that there is something other than the criminal streets. That is, you can have an active, experimental trust in which you know that the criminals inhabit a certain 10-block section of downtown, of big town. And perhaps you've noticed this geographically. Even one street can more or less divide the criminal from the little more respectable part of town, so-called respectable. The houses are painted better and they don't leave trash all over the street, but the same trashy people live in respectable homes as they do in the slum homes. But that's another point. But you can do this, and do it today. You can walk to the last street of the criminal area, and you know that across the street It's a little different. The houses are indeed a little brighter, and people, there's only maybe one drunk over there, and there's 10 drunks over there, and the prostitutes are strict pretty much in there. The cops see them over there. They know the cops are going to get them if they go over there. They don't bother them too much down there, especially if they stay off the streets and work indoors. You can walk to the final street of the psychic criminal area and be conscious of your increasing anxiety over leaving your own evil. Now, translation. You can notice when that person said something to offend you, insult you, you could notice that you remembered the lesson that you're not supposed to stay on his level, but you're also to notice your anxiety over not striking back. You want to do it. I've got my reputation to defend, and he defamed me. So I've got to say something back and knock him down like he's trying to knock me down. And yet you also remember the instructions you were given in class to not fight evil, but to try to understand it. So that is what is meant by walking to the edge of the slums, ready to cross the street into the more respectable, better kept area. You notice back and forth conflict. That is wealth. You never ever did that before. You never ever tried to walk out to see how hard it is, because you lived in the delusion that any time you wanted to walk out of the criminal part of town, you could do it. I can give up drinking, I can give up anger anytime I want. In fact, I never get mad. Oh, don't you see why silence is often the greatest wisdom when talking to nutties, nuttos, sickos? Just, I will allow you to sigh a little bit and not reply. Moment by moment, you are to try to cross the street. You're to try to leave yourself. Self-abandonment. And you do that. You do that just by doing that. Don't think. If you think, then you'll go into your illogical logic and you'll stay there. Just walk. Now, I should tell you, which you won't understand because you've never done it experimentally, but I'm giving you the facts, and the facts could lead to the experience and therefore to the liberation. When you get across the street and look back, you'll wonder why you hadn't done it years ago. When you look back, you will understand everything that you're now struggling right while I'm talking. You will understand perfect clarity, as clear as a bright day, what you have been hearing but not comprehending. Because, in spite of me telling you over and over at the start of the talk that evil and transgressions and wickedness are not necessary, in spite of me telling you that you don't have to be that way, you still believe it because you want to believe it. Because you've never known any other life. If you walk across, at a certain point, say about midway across the street, certain point, the light will flash in your mind, and you'll be stunned at the higher realization of what it means to walk away from yourself, to walk away from evil. and folly, and an inner smile will come to you. And you'll pause. And you'll turn around, and there, standing on the corner, is one of your old cronies, one of your old drinking buddies. Well, you men, you listen to this especially, because there's a little side thought here, which I can't develop too much. But you men, you look back and you'll see that old drinking buddy, and you used to invite him over to your home. You used to go to his home, you just drink together. It was a normal male, really. I don't say it was a bad relationship, sexually speaking, but just as a normal male relationship. But you'll wonder how you could have been so sick, so wasteful, and you now understand that he is what you used to be, but you're not anymore. What are you doing hanging around with men, drinking with them, and swearing with them, and lying with them? It's part of the criminal life. That's one reason for it. And you'll understand every other person who's decided not to go with you, and they're not going to go with you. In fact, they're going to try to keep you from crossing the street. They're going to threaten you with bad things. You're going to lose your old friends. You won't know what to do with yourself. You won't know what to think about. And this is why most people don't make it. Because they listen to the signals coming from the criminal element instead of listening to the signals coming from across the street, which is simply God trying to break through. At least halfway across the street, you will no longer be an atheist. An atheist is simply someone who's sunk deep inside of himself, and that's all he can see. So it's self-worship. That should be easy for you to understand, because that's the way you live. There is nothing outside of you except physical objects which you have to try to manipulate as best you can in order to give yourself a shot of pleasure. And after the shot of pleasure comes the hangover. Now, you have to get specific. It helps to be very specific for you to identify and recognize one criminal area in you which you have not explored and recognized before. And I'm going to tell you one of them, and this must become a surprising but delightful revelation to you, so that you can realize how you must walk away from it as well as all the other crimes in Crime Town. I'm going to reveal to you a section of your neurosis, of your badness, which you think is essential to your survival, but which is only essential to continuing your illness, mental and spiritual illness. That area is that you think that you have something coming to you. You think that other people should do things for you, give you things. Their behavior should always match your desire and your demand. Now, hang on with me on this now. Stick close, and don't let the bad part of your nature go to work on you. You pay attention to the right side of the street, which is sending you messages and information about the sinister criminal area. You wrongly and unnecessarily claim that others owe you something. And when they don't behave according to your expectations, well, then you have a right to hate them, to go after them in any way you can, and to try to straighten them out. Oh, I tell you, this is much deeper than you think. Some of you don't have the faintest notion of your secret, subtle demands, which one day, if certain things happen to you, you're going to be destroyed by what you allowed to remain unconscious in you for all these years. And I'll give you one of them. Don't you let your conditioning distort what I'm going to say. Don't let anyone give you phony advice on it. I'm talking about loyalty. Now, there's only one virtuous loyalty, and that is loyalty to God. Loyalty to your search for God. Loyalty to true lessons. You understand that. All else is a phony substitute. And you are still in the clutches of your demands that other people be loyal to you. They mustn't betray you. No treachery. If they do that, they're bad. Everyone that you want to be loyal to, you should be loyal to. In the first place, how can treacherous humanity ever be loyal to anyone else? No one can be loyal to anyone else. They're just playing the game and getting their good parts out of the relationship, and when they get tired of them, they're going to toss you away. Abandon you. But you think, and you demand that other people be loyal to you according to your neurotic needs. Your neurotic need is to have someone to blab to all day and night long, and they should be loyal to you so that you can blab in their ear and bore them about your precious, darling little life. Right? Someone should be loyal to you because you gave them all the years of your life. As if you have anything to give. I'm trying to destroy the structure as fast and as fully as I can while I'm talking to you. I'm trying to destroy your belief into thinking that other people owe you loyalty. Nobody can give you anything. Loyalty, love, the whole business, but we're concentrating on you think that others should always be at your side. That's sickness. And the game is played back and forth between two human beings. This sixth sense and demand that others should give you things like loyalty, this is a part of your shaky structure, shaky self-structure, which is extremely evil, dark, malicious, demonic. It is demonic for you to demand loyalty from anyone. So why do you do it? Why do you've got to give me the promotion down at office or I'll hate you. You fill in your own comparable sentences while I'm talking. Don't you dare fire me after all these years. Husband, wife, don't you dare leave me after all I have given you. How much you children, how much I worked to send you to college. Your father deserted us. I had to go out and scrub floors at night. Get the bread on the table. And look how you turned out. all 5 of you kids, how they turned out. Hatred steaming, and a loving mother of 5 children with hatred steaming inside of her. She wants to believe in loyalty, in evil. She wants to believe in that because she has not found the independence and the freedom and the morality of only depending on God. Are you following all this? I hope that you will spend the rest of the day trying to detect and discover, were you on the telephone, were you in the letter, were you in relationship with someone else, or projecting your demands and telling them by your manner, words, thoughts, feeling, telling them how they should behave properly toward you. I've told you why everyone is sick, why everyone is worried, because you know in your heart they aren't going to give you what you want, and so you settle, you say, well, better to have a brutal husband than have no man around at all. How sick a statement can you make? Well, let's see. Let's see if you can get over the other side of the street long enough to understand that the concept of loyalty is originated and defined by the criminals. But all human beings who are still inwardly criminals take it up and think it's a pretty nice gimmick for exploding with the pressurized violence that they have inside themselves, and therefore they can justify. He betrayed me. There is no you in you to be betrayed. There is no one to be betrayed. No existence whatever. You lie and say there is, therefore justify your hatred of someone who seems to betray you. You don't need anything from anyone. There's no one to give you anything. There is no one to give you anything good. Only God is good. They can only give you the evil that they believe in, and they can practice it on you just the same as you are believing in your own need to be sick and practicing it on them. Isn't that a good illustration that you can't stay in criminal town anymore? You get across the street. Oh, I was reading the other day, a sort of a picture of what we're talking about. I'm reading about the French Revolution. I'm sure in your history class you studied it, how at a certain period in French history there was the royalty, the king and the queen and all the princes and dukes, and then the ordinary citizens in the street. And the abuses by the royalty became so great, and they had the prison called the Bastille, where they put the political enemies and dissenters in, the king's prison. It was his prison to put his political enemies in. Gradually the peasantry began to grumble. And yeah, I'm sure you'll all remember the famous remark that, who was it? Marie Antoinette, somebody, the queen or somebody said, the people don't have bread, and she said, let them eat cake. That was her level of understanding. The grumbling got louder and louder and louder. I'm leading up to a vital point, which we've already discussed and we will rediscuss. The French citizens started back in the farms and back in their little hovels in the streets of Paris, began collecting their guns and their swords and spears, and began to form groups for overthrowing the king. And if you read enough detail about the French Revolution, you'll see that, let's call it Group A, Group B, Group C, Group D. But they all were united for one purpose: to overthrow the king and establish the French Republic. And so the revolution gained strength and strength because all the groups got together for the single purpose of getting rid of the king. Finally, they came out into the open with their armaments and began shooting a few of the royal members of royalty. Stronger and stronger the crowds. One day they attacked the Bastille, the hated king's prison, and freed all the political enemies. And that was sort of a landmark in the French Revolution, because shortly after that, they captured the king. Was trying to run away, thought he was going to get captured, and he tried to run away, but they caught him in a certain seacoast town, brought him on back to Paris, and finally, the king himself and the queen and thousands of members of royalty were executed. And that was the French Revolution, and that's just the beginning of our story. Republic was proclaimed. Now, establish in your mind that I'm talking about inner groups inside of you, and there's inner groups inside of your neighbor and your friend. Well, anyway, the inner groups, finally, when the king was out of the way, guess what they did? Wanting power, wanting authority, wanting to establish themselves as the know-it-all, they begin executing each other. The name I give will probably spark some kind of at least a faint memory. Remember Robespierre? He was the leader, let's say, of Group A. Another man, Group B. And Robespierre, being a lost French soul, he wanted to be somebody, as do all tyrants. He wanted to be able to tell his parents, look what happened to me, I'm now the ruler of France. We overthrew the wicked people. We're the good people who overthrew the wicked people. Well, something happened to Robespierre on the way to Versailles Palace. He was executed by Group B, and the members of his Group A were put out of the way. Group C went after Group B, on and on. I'm trying to explain to you that there is no loyalty in criminal town. There is no loyalty inside of your present nature. There are only a struggle for power. There are only scattered groups and tyrants inside of you that are lying to you and telling you that if you will allow them to have their way, they'll overthrow the wicked king, that is, overthrow all the things that are oppressing you, and you will be liberated from prison, and you will be supreme in yourself. In other words, summary, you'll be happy. Now, isn't it absolutely astonishing that you can't connect with the aid of the French Revolution, that you can't connect what happens inside of you every hour of the day with the point, the lesson in the story? I think it's a shame that you can't. I think it's a shame that you're still trusting what you have to deliver you. You are going to be betrayed. There's no loyalty. There's no honor among thieves. Group A, B, C, D in the French Revolution. Once it came time to take over, each one of them said, we are the ones who's going to take charge. We did more for the revolution and throwing over the evil king. We're going to be the one in charge, and so they all start killing each other, and they succeeded in it. The psychology of what I've just explained should be inescapable. Make it inescapable to you. That is, you're going to reflect this afternoon? Well, that is certainly, the French Revolution certainly taught me something they didn't teach me in history class. It taught me something about my own inner processes that I never understood before, that I would never have dreamed was going on, which is that I am betraying myself every moment. Because I've decided to live in criminal town. I've decided that anger, Group A, will be of help to me. And envy, Group B, serves a purpose. Well, sure, sometimes they get a little wild and they go a little violent. But they promised to overthrow my sadness and make me happy. I am literally speechless to convey to you what you have to do, because I can only work with words plus the Spirit of truth, which you are resisting. Write it down, here or there. Spiritual fierceness. All out. No alibying the envy and the anger and the trickery and the lowness of the criminal groups inside of you. No more thinking that they are your friend. They have no choice but to betray you and haul you down to the execution place. They have no choice but that is all they can offer, that's all they can promise, that's all they will deliver to you, and you know that by your own agony. Something's doing it to you, and it's your own ignorance of their presence and how they operate. We're exposing satanic practices right now. We're visiting hell deliberately. We can do that safely here in this room. No danger whatever. When the Spirit of truth goes with you into hell, you can see the whole thing without one pitchfork or one flame being able to ignite you or hurt you at all. That's what we're doing. And I encourage you to have spiritual confidence in the truth and go with me as I'm walking with you. We're all walking together through the French Revolution and through the criminal town and through hell itself. We can all walk safely together if you simply stay close to the truth itself and don't listen to the lies from criminal town that want have you go on back. Don't you listen when the Council of Five get together before the oppressing king is overthrown. All five leaders of the Council for Better Government, etc. When you sit around that council table, which you are, you're still part of them, I want you to get very suspicious of that pleasant-looking leader of Group A. And I don't want you to take sick pleasure when the leader of Group B speaks up, and he's the angry, revengeful type. And he appeals to your anger and your revenge and says, just wait till we get inside that castle and we haul the king and the queen off. And just wait. The third one says, the second one appeals to your violence. Third one appeals to your greed for earthly rewards. Just think, fellow members of this great and glorious crusade to get rid of the king and the queen. Just think, you will be one of the leaders, one of the rulers. You will inhabit their castle. It will all come to you. That's the heaven that you're going to have. You have a sick trust in them because you still think that you must have greed. You think it is useful. It is useless, but you think it is useful because you don't know that it's serving a useless purpose in serving a non-existent entity which you call you. You do not have to go into paranoid, neurotic suspicion of everyone on earth. You just have to understand what I've been telling you. There's just two places and two ways. Darkness, sickness, God, and the light. How can you any longer, when you talk to anyone, and they all have their own group as to how to get rid of the problems in the world, famine, government tyranny. They all know how to take care of that. They say that. Are you still going to believe them? Whether it's inner or outer, wherever the tyrants are, I said you don't have to be neurotically suspicious, because then if you're neurotically suspicious, you won't understand them. Understanding comes from a clear mind that knows finally and once and for all that it is not necessary for you to be bad, to be sick, in any definition of those words. You don't have to hate anyone who did something bad to you, and you must not. You don't have to be greedy for self-fulfilling rewards, because there's no self to get any rewards, and you'll just destroy yourself trying to get them. Ponder all we've talked about and practice it this afternoon and forevermore.